All right, I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:05. So, approval approval of the April minutes. Have you all read the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the minutes.
And I will second Mr. Duran's motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I abstain, I wasn't there. Appearance of interested citizen. So we have a grand total of one. You want to come up and tell us who you are and what you're here for?
What's his name?
You'll tell us. So if you'll tell us your name and where you live?
Yep, my name is Jesse Borghese. I live in Salem, and is that microphone on?
Check. Nope. All right, we'll share. All right. My name is Joseph Boyd. I also live in Salem.
So I'm the treasurer of the Salem Rugby Club, and Joe is the president. And so we as a club, again, I spoke last night, but just for those of you who aren't here, we have a men's club, a women's club, and a high school boys club under 19, under 19, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we've been in existence since 2011, and we use Claggett Creek Park quite often, and so we are really interested in making that our home pitch, and putting, I don't know, working with the city of Keizer to put more permanent structures in place for our needs. And then an example would be permanent uprights. So for example, every time we show up for a match, we take cellophane and PVC pipe and we affix it to the soccer goals. And it works for our purposes, but it's not great and it's not ideal. And so that's just one thing that we would really like to do. But then we also want to do things to Claggett Creek Park that would ideally help you guys, the city of Keizer. Anything to add?
Well, I mean, first off, we absolutely love using Claggett Creek. It's a beautiful facility. I mean, besides there's a few safety hazards, like there's a couple like concrete bits in the field, but besides that, it's a great facility, and working with the city of Keizer is so much more easy than working with the city of Salem, and that's one thing that's really pushed us to seek your guys' facilities, and really what we're looking for is a partnership that can suit and help both of us.
So what are the other things you want to do to improve the park for us?
So Joe touched on the concrete benches. They're benches, hard benches that are concreted into the field in certain spots. I think there's 4 of them. It's a safety hazard for us. We had a sevens tournament there last year, and several tackles went into the benches, and people didn't get seriously hurt, but it wasn't great. So we wanted to either remove those or move them back from the field a bit. We were also hoping to put a home field sign with that basically says "Home of the Salem Spartans," or I don't know, change our name to Keizer. I don't know, Yeah. Well, I mean, our official name is the Salem Rugby Club. That's, obviously we filed with the feds as a 501c3 nonprofit. But anyways, yeah, we wanted to kind of put a home field sign there, and we also wanted to be able to give our sponsors, the people that are giving us the money to improve the field, some advertising. And then we were hoping for an on-site facility storage, because right now everything goes into Joe's basement, and we have to go to Joe's house every single time. His wife's not thrilled about that. And we have to pull everything out and move it to the field and then set everything up. It's just a lot of work for us. So
Can I make one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one a big thing that we would like to do to improve the field is to make it an actual rugby pitch, and either that being with permanent uprights or semi-permanent uprights, ones that we put up before each game or put up before the season, that sort of thing. Rugby is really on the rise here in the States. It's the fastest growing team sport here, and that really shows with the amount of youth that are playing the game now, and also, I mean, with the amount of men's teams that are starting out. And it's a great way to attract people to this area and really let them know what we have to offer.
Mr. Chair. So just out of curiosity, you know, you said the Salem Spartans. How many folks from Keizer are actually participating in this? I mean, do you have a lot of, is it a 50-50 split? Do you have more Keizer, more Salem? Just out of curiosity.
Right now, how it is, like with my boys club, we're a county-wide team, so we draw all the kids from Salem, Keizer.
So it's
we have a
regional.
couple of kids from over in Central, even in Independence. You know, so I would say on my high school team, I have 4 or 5 kids that are from Keizer. Over the years, we've had plenty of guys from Keizer play for the team. I don't know how many are current residents on the team now, but we always have people coming in.
And
all
like the
over.
lacrosse, they have kind of an inter-regional sort of thing going, and they do a lot of practices here locally. I think it's the Salem Keizer lacrosse team is what I think the organization is. So, just curious about that.
Yeah, totally.
Scott?
one thing though, as just kind of a thought that I had today, when I moved to Salem Keizer area, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I went out to the Salem Parks and Rec website because I moved from Corvallis and there was tons of activities to do down there. And so when I moved up here, I was looking to get involved in sports and activities and things like that, just to meet people, make some friends. And when I went out there, all they had to offer was softball. That was it. And so I really feel like the rugby club as an organization brings another option to the youth and the adults of the Salem Keizer area. And so we really would love it if the city of Keizer was able to offer it as something for their citizens to partake in.
Robert, have you had a meeting with these guys and talked about the layout and how this might look and how we might do this, again, putting in permanent goalposts, could be their own hazard for other sports that might be out there themselves, but has this been I can't even picture how this goes in, because every time I drive by Claggett Creek, there's soccer games or picnics and stuff like that going on, so I'm trying to picture how this might be laid out. And the sign could just say Spartans. It doesn't have to say Salem Spartans.
Sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I've lived here long enough to have lived here when it was not Keizer, the city of Keizer, and then became the city of Keizer. So I can understand the relationship. So, but have you seen what they're talking about?
To answer your question, we actually have a meeting set up tomorrow in Bill Lawyer's office. So we'll get a lot of that sorted out and then go from there.
Okay.
Yes, Roland?
I have a question. I don't know if this, you were talking about a permanent structure. Have you considered, or Robert might know if there's another option, like a trailer that's portable, sort of? Or is that not acceptable? You want something more?
No, I mean, just someplace where we can lock up our stuff and not have to transport every single Saturday would be great.
No, I'm curious about how. But I wouldn't want to get tackled by this guy here.
I don't like
moving way
getting
back.
tackled by him either.
That's cool.
Can I touch a little bit on the posts? There's a few options to incorporate soccer and rugby together that, like, they have regulation soccer size goals with rugby uprights off of them. So I mean, and that's something that we're totally open to. We want it to be a multi-use facility. We're not looking to come in and pigeonhole it just for rugby. We understand it's a great resource for this area, and we just want to add to that.
I practiced boys club football there, however many years ago. I'm talking about 40 years ago, I guess now.
So the slope of the park doesn't affect you like it does soccer?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
The slope of the park doesn't affect you like it does soccer?
Not as much, but
I'm not, I think we're pretty happy with it. That is one thing that we would like to improve. We'd like to improve the drainage of the field. We'd like to grade it so that it's a little bit more level. But I mean, we're not dissatisfied with it by any means.
Well, we have a floodplain problem there about, we can't fill in the floodplain,
I see. Is that the entire park?
basically.
okay.
But in the future, we may have another place for you to go.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Taylor?
Ken?
Yes.
Robert, can they, what can they do down there to level that? I mean, is that doable?
To a certain extent, yeah. We looked into it years ago for soccer, but they were wanting to widen it up quite a bit, and that's where we got into the floodplain.
Right.
So we've got a map that we can look at and discuss where we're allowed to develop up to as far as leveling goes, and then from there on, it's kind of leave it alone. Depending on the size of the project, we may need to get a 1800C permit, or 1200C permit rather, which is $1,800.
Well, I think that was the issue at Keizer Rapids also.
Yes, it just depends
Yeah.
on what they're looking at, you know. I don't know yet. We'll learn a lot of this in the meeting
Okay.
tomorrow and be able to move forward from there, so.
Any other questions? So what is it that you want from us tonight?
Well, that's a good question because, I mean, we're just exploring opportunities right now. We started out just setting up the meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and then we came last night to the city council meeting and kind of expressed our gratitude to the city of Keizer Parks, and then we were invited back tonight. So we showed up and not really knowing what to expect other than just to talk to you and explore any opportunities.
I just wanted to say that I think this is a great plan, and I hope to see you guys work more on this. That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And for, Mr. Chair, for point of clarification, I did talk to Jesse, and I recognize that this is a really new and exciting opportunity to bring a different sport into Keizer. You know, the partnership is going to be really important in what your organization is going to be able to bring to the table. We're still under a status quo budget, and that's what last night was all about. And so just recognizing that, I'm sure that staff is going to be able to present the options as that are currently available. And it's exciting. Again, I personally appreciate your willingness to come and talk to the city council last night. And I did ask you guys to come back just to kind of get a broader story of what it is you're looking for. And as it seems so far, I think my colleagues here and I generally think it's an exciting opportunity. And so you got great city staff to work with, and be really interested to see what can sort of evolve out of this conversation now.
I'd like to affirm that. And anytime, I went to Oregon State for a couple of years, and so it was nice to see the parks being used, and I agree. Anytime that we can have people on our facilities and bringing people in, showing them what we have, it just helps the community be more livable. So it would be a good thing to have you guys have this as a home field and kind of adopt the area. And you know, there's a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot of space here, and the parks, people who work the parks here do a good job. So I agree with you. It's a good place to be.
We've been exploring options. It was told to us by the city of Salem several years ago that they had a park available to us if we wanted it, if we were interested in rehabilitating it. We've been asking around. Obviously, that would be extremely expensive. A lot of work that has to go into it. The location of it wasn't ideal for us. We really, I think we were more interested in other locations, and so we really haven't pursued that opportunity. But I started asking around just to see what resources were out there, and so I reached out to a local construction company. I'm a commercial banker, so I deal with a lot of business owners on a day-to-day basis, and so I reached out to a local construction company and said, hey, you know, here's the deal. If we get to the point where we secure a field that needs rehabilitation, will you help us and kind of get us set up for our home pitch? And he said, absolutely. Just let us know what you need. They've put in a lot of work in the past and on an ongoing basis to the Capital City Football Club. And so I think we can reach out to the right people in the area to really make a nice pitch or a nice field.
Wait to hear back from Robert. Your meeting's tomorrow? Yep. So,
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for
thank
coming
you.
back.
Good luck. Thanks for doing this.
I got a question for
For who?
Thanks for coming last night as well.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
Robert, could you email us after that meeting?
Sure.
Okay, because I'd kind of like to know.
So our one and last audience, did you want to speak to us today? Oh, because we stole the interested citizen list before you came. All right. Festival Advisory Board representative is Donna,
Donna's not here.
and Donna's not here. Heel, that's Dylan.
Yeah, so we got a piece of paper in front of us here that I had Debbie print off today of what we could maybe apply for a HEAL grant for. And this is a series of exercise stations that are basically, you know, just a bunch of different tools that you can do exercises on with signage to tell you how to properly use them. And they would go great in maybe one of our parks that has a long trail, so you could maybe be going for a run and then stop occasionally for a break and do some exercises on them. And this particular set that we have in front of us is about $6,000. And the HEAL grant is available for portions from $5,000 to $15,000, but we need to apply for it in June.
I
Yeah,
do have an
what's that?
update on that, Dylan. I looked at it, and it looked like last year the grant cycle ran August 1st through September 30th. They haven't announced yet what this grant cycle is going to look like.
Oh, okay.
So it could be June. I think that's what they originally intended the program to be, but it probably got started late. So just based off that, there's about a 2-month window.
Okay. Cool.
So what percentage of the cost does the grant cover?
It doesn't look like any. It looks like it could just be a full, like
100%.
we could ask for $6,000 and they'll give us $6,000.
Is that including installation?
Ask for 6,000.
Well, you can ask for $6,000. They may not give it to us, but if they approve it, they might.
Is this including installation, or is it just the cost? raw
The
material?
set itself was $6,000. So I have no idea what installation would be like. I referred to Robert for
These are
that.
fence posts and stuff, so
Yes, Robert?
I would highly recommend an Eagle Scout puts this in.
there you go.
That's a good
Be
idea.
a great project for them. So,
Why are you looking at me about that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
So what we need to do tonight, if you guys are interested in this, I think this would be a good project for us to do, and with little, required output from the city itself, aside from the work it would take to like organize and install it. We need to basically ask the city council or make a recommendation to the city council that we apply for this grant, and then go to them with that. So I don't know if we need.
They actually have one of these at behind where I work up in Wilsonville. It's in actually behind Mentor, and it's really nice. It's on a circle, so you can actually go to all 10 stations and then end up back at the beginning. And I really like it. I use it all the time, even though I don't work at Mentor. I work in a different building, but it's open, so you can just go around, and it's actually really nice. It's really nice to use.
They've had one in McKay Park for years. I mean, since the 80s, they've had one out there at McKay Park in Salem. And we were just out there a month ago, and it's still out there, and people are still using it. And it's literally And I think the material is probably upgraded. I'm sure they're probably using some of the newer material now, but once it's there, it's there. I mean, you might have to go and rake it every once in a while, but it's a non-existent maintenance issue.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too, as far as like maintaining things with a low maintenance available budget wouldn't impact us severely.
Well, I wonder if Clint's not here, we can't ask him, but if we could, I make a motion that we apply for this grant and to ask city council to give us their blessing. And they could do that Monday. Couldn't you, Roland?
As far as status goes, we all know where we stand right now. We've adopted, we've directed staff to go for the $4.
Well, yeah, but this is at no
Yeah,
cost.
this is no.
Oh, you're talking about that, okay. I thought
Yeah, I'm talking about the grant.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the status of our,
Oh, no.
that's not till the next,
That's the next thing, yeah.
that's the next item.
So,
As far as the status of the heel, is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
We have directed you guys are gonna come back with some more information for us, is my understanding.
Yeah, and this would be it. So we would bring it to you and say,
You're bringing us what exactly you're trying to, is this,
Turn on your microphone,
you're
Debbie.
proposing or just
Okay,
what you're
I
gonna apply
think,
for?
I don't know if this one works.
we would propose to you that we apply for the grant. I
Debbie
believe.
has the floor.
Sorry.
If I may, the council already approved the HEAL, the
That was
resolution to make the
2 meetings
city a
ago.
HEAL city. So that part is done. This part only just involves the applying for the grant. And since there's plenty of time, what I would recommend is that you let staff bring it up at the next department head meeting, and we can get it on the agenda at the beginning of June. That way we don't have to do any suspension of rules or anything, and we can have a staff report and that sort of thing to go with it.
That
all
was
right, then I withdraw
a couple
my
meetings
motion.
ago.
Yes, Scott?
Do we have an idea of where we'd like to put this? Where it would go? Where's the best place?
That's not necessarily true. I think we could look at Country Glen. They've already got an established walking path that's kind of set up in a circle. And I mean, that's almost identical to the way it's set up in McKay, and that might be a really good opportunity because there's a lot of traffic out at Country Glen. And it would be easy to get in there and do it. I mean, Keizer Rapids, the only trails I think that are set up presently are the ones that go back from the boat dock along back towards the quarry.
No, there's some that cut through to the amphitheater.
I mean, realistically, we could put it around the asphalt track
True.
at Keizer Rapids.
True.
But I'm just, I honestly, I was mostly directing this towards Robert because I really think if we do such a thing, the best place to put it is the place that gets it most
A lot of use, right?
most use and most visibility, and that probably would be Keizer Rapids, especially with what's happened. Not that we're going to get this done by the eclipse, because I'm not going to push anybody's buttons that much, but it would just be nice to have this in a place where it's visible. The one that's at Salem Riverfront Park by Les Schwab there and Fred Meyer's, they've got kind of a little thing going. I don't know if anybody walks there, but it's not very good. It's just it's more of a kids activity session, where you spell words and that kind of stuff. But this is a cool thing. So, but finding a place to put it is my biggest someplace where it gets used a lot. And to be honest with you, if it's at Keizer Rapids, I might even use it. But I don't know what stretching does since I don't have any muscle left. So I'm not sure what that means. But anyway, Robert.
Matt, I think Country Glen would support something like this, but I don't think it would support 10 stations. That's quite a few stations that would be very close to each other.
Yeah,
Where I
that
think we
makes
could
sense.
spread it out a little more, Keizer Rapids, but
I just like
that's-
Country Glen because it's on the
Oh,
water.
for sure. Yeah, especially and you could put some over in the Hidden Creek area too, if that's something that neighborhood was wanting.
And our Parks liaison really likes Country Glen too.
I wanted to add one more thing that I haven't been hearing here that might put a kibosh on some of these ideas is that the HEAL grant does specify that it is to go towards neighborhoods that are disadvantaged or that are less likely to have good
Right.
park equipment. So you put it into the nicer parks, you're less likely to get the grant. So placement's going to be very front for them.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
You got also
The only problem with that is any place that we could, find a disadvantage, or you don't have the room.
Can we
have the
put it into
parks.
school parks, or are those
No.
separate from us? We can't.
School district.
that's a good point, Joe.
We'll
Claggett
let
might be-
Robert figure that one out.
Claggett might work.
Claggett might work because that's the only one that's large enough in the Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association. They're the neighborhood that struggles the worst in terms of park availability.
We do not have an existing jogging path at Claggett, though.
We're getting a lot of bark chips soon, though.
Those are going in our playgrounds that are needing bark chips.
This doesn't necessarily solve our location problem, but the website that this came from, so the maker of the product suggested two possible solutions to what you could do with the structures. You could either have them placed close together as sort of like a, I don't know, I not like a playground, but they'd be close together like playground structures are in one single like location, or spread out over a fairly large distance. So like what my mind went to with Keizer Rapids Park is that shows two very good examples of places where you could put them in a close together spot, like around that asphalt track and near the field, closer to the river, or in the woods in that trail out there. So you could spread it out over a large distance or put it close together, and that would give us a little bit more options on like which park we could put it in. But you still need a sizable amount of land for that.
Chair recognizes himself. My problem with putting it in Keizer Rapids Park is we always tag flack for whenever we skip all the other parks and put it in Keizer Rapids Park. So I'd really like to see it in a different park.
Well, the only,
I have the floor, Mr.
well, I thought
Chair.
you were done.
No, I was not.
Well, get done.
Okay. Now, if you raise your hand, I'll recognize Jim Taylor. You have the floor.
Thank you. I really have issues putting it in a neighborhood park. If you're gonna draw a lot of people, that is kind of what we don't wanna do with neighborhood parks, because we don't have parking, and we don't want a lot of people to park where they, I just think it would be better not in a neighborhood park.
Why wouldn't Claggett work?
Well, Claggett is not a neighborhood park. No.
That's
It's-
reasonable.
It's a,
It's not
So-
a regional park.
no.
So I would maybe suggest let's look at the master plan, determine which of the parks specifically have the fitness piece in them, because I think they're called out, correct?
The master plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to look at that
So I
closer.
think rather than talking in possibilities,
we're
let's go back to our book and figure out exactly which ones those are, and then maybe that could be part of something that Robert sends out to us and lets us know, hey, these are the eligible parks for it. And I think the crux of what we're trying to get to right now is whether or not we support wanting to move forward with this, getting on the agenda for sometime in June, which I'm personally in support of, especially if it's at no cost and almost no maintenance whatsoever. And if it's a good
Yes.
Eagle Scout project.
A motion on the table and no second.
I
He withdrew
the
his motion.
Made the motion, but we didn't get a second. Would you like me to?
But no, he said he was going to withdraw the motion.
Yes. Sorry.
All right, so I
think
think we
Roland had
just
his hand
need
up.
to, what?
Roland had his hand up.
Roland.
Oh, I was just curious, thank you, Chairman. How many parks besides Keizer Rapids can accommodate if you put them all together? Or do you just, are you talking about putting like some, I mean, to me, for this system to work, it's kind of like a
circuit.
a progression of, and the only thing I can think of is Keizer Rapids. I mean,
Well,
I don't see any, is there other parks that can kind of accommodate all this type of
so
stuff?
I think
or
the
we waste-
first step is to whoever's reporting to the board, sorry, I'm from the county, the council, that we are now working on that and that we would like to apply for the grant. And that would come up on the next, just inform that's, and it'll be on their next thing. And in the meantime, we can work on where it goes.
Sure.
How does that sound? We don't need to work that out right now because I think Robert should be very involved in this since it's his park. we just kind of like think it's our park. Okay, so, do I need a motion for that, Debbie?
I think so, yes.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion that we report that we'd like them,
So moved.
Seconded.
no, you gotta tell me what the motion is. So moved what?
Well, we want to report to have our representative report to council that we are entertaining the idea of applying for this grant.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously.
Just need to let Clint know.
Can I ask Robert a question since we're done with that?
Sure.
How difficult, I'm sorry about that, the way I'm wording it. How difficult would it be to put some kind of outside trail at Claggett? So, bear with me. You start at the bridge on Dearborn, put some kind of little trail just around the parking lot and around the fence line west of the park, all the way over to Chamawa here, and then back across that parking lot. The problem with getting next to the creek is washout.
Right.
But how difficult might it be to put, it doesn't have to be a paved trail, does it? I mean, if we put a trail in, what are those requirements for us to be smart?
Well, that was my first question, was what type of trail are you talking about?
Uh,
Hog
that-
fuel? Hog fuel needs good drain rock underneath it. That park, I don't know if you've ever walked through that park in the wintertime, but it
I
gets
lived
quite
there
soggy.
for years, so.
Perfect. So you know the drainage problem, not just from the creek flooding, but also just poor drainage in that area because it is so flat. So hog fuel would be okay in the summertime. It would get very, very soft and squishy in the wintertime if you did not build it correctly. I see that City of Salem is actually tearing out one of their hog fuel trails at Bush Park right now because it's a maintenance hazard. It's just something you got to continually work on to keep it, from getting soft. So, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to build it, real quick. You could throw something in, but long term, it wouldn't hold up very well there without going a hard surface.
And doing something more
Permanent.
professional and
Yep.
more permanent. Okay. It's just, this kind of thing in the.
Yeah.
And just throwing this out, if the rugby team is going to use it, A, you have all that equipment there, and B, if they want to do something that's productive for Claggett Creek Park and need to do something service-wise, there you go.
There's also the new, and I don't remember if it's FEMA, but there's new rules that the Corps of Engineers just recently put out as it relates to doing any construction within certain ranges of a watershed, and so we'd have to look at that as well. I don't know what the buffers are, but that's something that just recently passed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, so.
Okay. Here's our favorite subject, park stabilization funding, community-based outreach. So, Roland, do you want to give us a synopsis of what happened last night?
Back up on what I said earlier about council directing staff to, we pretty much, that's where we're at right now. That's kind of the highlight of everything we saw yesterday was kind of like the sausage being made, a lot of stuff going on where people are talking this and that. And we've left the increments to discussion.
Roland?
Oh, sorry about that. I got two.
Turn one of them on, Roland.
Well, Roland, I do actually have all the motion language if you're interested in that.
I'm sorry?
I do have all the motion language if you're interested in that.
About directing staff to, you want to read it?
Down on the floor, yeah.
Okay, basically all it is, if you want to read, that's fine, but all it is we're directing them to come with $4 per family household, and we're gonna work out the rest with advice from staff and the Parks Board, as far as the increments or any other language we're gonna add to that. But as far as directing that, we are going to adopt a Parks fee of $4. That's what we're starting at. That's what we decided on last night.
there's-
Go ahead and
You
read
haven't
that.
decided to adopt it
Well,
yet.
go ahead and read that, so we can see
So-
what.
So the,
Staff to adopt that.
So this is a little lengthy, and I apologize, but I think it's really important that we, for those that didn't participate last night and those that may be watching now, Mayor Clark moved that the city council direct staff to come back with a mechanism to collect a $4 per month per household fee that would be structured so that the prioritization would not cause a person to have their water turned off for failure to pay fee, and those funds would not supplant in any way the general fund allocation for parks according to budget policy. And the fee be attached to the Keizer billing structure already in place to incur no additional cost to the residents. Councilor Herrera seconded. There was a friendly amendment to the motion to add a collection of commercial accounts as well as households, which means our businesses. There was a friendly amendment that there not be an increase of the fee for a minimum of 1 year with an $8 cap on the fee. Also, implementing a reporting requirement to the Budget Committee from the Parks Board, Parks Department on what has been done with the funds. There was an additional friendly amendment to include in the ordinance that the Finance Department will use the program in place currently for senior and low-income clients. And what that means is for folks that struggle to pay water bills or any other utilities, they use the same mechanism, so we're not reinventing anything. There was a motion to include senior living apartments in the fee that failed. Ultimately, the final motion with the friendly amendments was passed unanimously, 6 with no opposition and 1 person, Council President Parsons, absent. And so,
That's where we're at.
yield back
Thank
to
you
you.
for reading that. I didn't have it in front of me, and I just gotta, I know that there's still work to be done, and you folks still have to contribute in terms of how we're gonna apply, what are we gonna do as far as, we know we have a ceiling, we've established that.
Right.
But we don't know what, and we know the 1 year deal, but we don't know all exactly the language on the increments. And that's something that we're gonna decide in council, and like I say, according to Mayor Clark, we're gonna take advice from the staff and from you folks here at the Parks. So the first step is done as far as that goes, but there's still work to be done. So I think we had some great people testify, and you guys did a fantastic job. I keep saying that, you know, and I really appreciate it, and we have to move forward. What I didn't want to do is just keep going around in circles and talking. So we have a starting point, sort of, and that's where we're at right now. And I think, you know, like, I'm one of those people, I'm listening to people, but as far as what people are saying to me, and I listened to it, and we all brought our own discussion to discussion, and this is where we're at right now. So whatever we've thought in the past, we've moved forward to this point. And that's one thing I want to let you know, that we are going to move forward on that. So thanks to all your work, and we'll see what happens. So I think it's going to look good for the parks, and because everybody knows that we need something. We know we need something. Like I say, there's people, the motion you read, there's going to be considerations for income and other things as far as it doesn't affect your water. So that is important that you did include that. But we'll see what the final outcome is. And next, I believe next, you, Matt, or somebody from this board will be at the next meeting. So we'll see what comes up with that. So.
I believe that's in June. Is that correct, Councilor Herrera? I think that was discussed that they wouldn't the council probably wouldn't hear this until June at the earliest.
I think it was still open, if I'm correct, but I could be wrong. I mean, I know that we've started.
I think staff asked for at least till June, if I recall.
The packet's out.
Okay.
It came out tonight, so they don't.
According to the mayor, we're going to still take direction from both the staff and the board.
Well, and Mr. Chair, if I may, I think one of the things that the city manager came out with is, and this is something I'm going to work with Robert on, and if anybody else wants to participate with it, please. But basically, using the data we received as it relates to maintenance and operations, because I personally felt that the council made that a major priority, was the maintenance and operations portion. So working with Robert to basically take his prioritization list and marry that up with the scores we got from the responses on the survey to help Robert sort of go, okay, yes, in fact, this still is a #1 priority piece. So that data, I mean, basically I'm going to be doing whatever Robert needs me to do to help him sort of translate the data, because we still have to have very minimal impact on
I think
the
there's
staff time.
something as far as billing that they have to work out, as far as staff, how they're going to do with apartments, and remember there was some language about that. So there's a little work to be done there, but I know that I'm finally glad that we got somewhere to move on. So we're moving forward. So see what happens.
Mr.
And,
Taylor?
I'm pretty excited about it. I think something's positive's coming out at the end, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I was just gonna add that for anybody watching that didn't watch the council meeting last night, there were a lot of people that testified. I don't know what the number was. There was probably 15, about 15 people that testified. And that's not including any of us. These were citizens. And there were only two that, of all the people that testified, everybody was very positive about it. Two very respected people thought it should go to a vote of the people. Council did talk about that. To do that, you would have to wait until May of 2018.
Cost.
By then, otherwise it would cost up to $38,000. It could, because it's about $1 for every resident if there's anything else on the ballot. And that would take a huge chunk out of the park budget, and which we don't have to spend. So council felt that was not workable. There isn't time to do that. This is something that is time sensitive as far as being able to maintain the parks now. So from what I understand, and Roland, you can tell me, they are not going to refer this to an advisory vote.
I think we're still, I really don't think so from where we're at. I
Right.
didn't get that. I mean, as far as I know, we're already moving forward. They're gonna come, staff's gonna come up with the proposal, and it's set.
But I was very surprised that there wasn't any big opposition, and there wasn't. And this was very well publicized. This was the night of the public hearing. And there'll be another public hearing when they do this. But there was no opposition, basically.
I would say that there was different people with opinions as far as like the ones I got were to putting it out to vote and what did it. before
Right, there were
the
two that
facts
said
were-
that.
Came out about the cost and the timing, but it was discussed at length. We had
Yes.
several people, including Jerry McGee, and I had heard it myself, so, I mean, that was all in discussion, and once we move forward, that's where we're at now.
But both of the
Oh, yes.
people that testified that
I will
thought
say
it'd go to
this,
vote
everybody-
did understand that there was a problem and there should be
Oh,
something.
no, everybody acknowledged the problem. I think we all know that if we live in Keizer. It's pretty evident. The only discussion was on how to get there. We all,
Right.
we know what we know we need. We need some help with the parks.
We need a map.
Yeah. I
How
mean,
to get there.
somebody, yeah, right. Somebody said something that, corporations don't double their, but we haven't been, yet, we're way below, we're at 1/4 of where we should be. So if we double it, we're still halfway where we should be. So,
Right.
and I think you should make the point about doubling it. And I found that kind of interesting because we were kind of, this parks department's been run on bare bones minimum for many years. And even 1/4 of what, if we were to double, it would still be under where we're at. So, where we should be at. And so my compliments to Robert for what he's done with what Lily's done, but we all are moving forward with what we believe. And Keizer, as a city, believes we need help with our parks. So that's where we're at.
Scott?
So I'd actually like to thank Robert as well, and everybody who worked on that survey and all that. It was interesting to me last night that everybody who spoke was so eloquent and so prepared and so informed. And I thought, as I was sitting there and driving home last night, I thought, God, it would have been nice to have heard this kind of testimony 6 months ago. If we could have, and that would have helped mold that survey, I think, sooner. But it was just fascinating to hear all the testimony from the citizens and how well, and their ideas were good, and it was just, I was very pleased with, oh my gosh, it was excellent. I got home and the first thing I told my wife is, the people who spoke were incredible last night. Or tonight, because I was talking last night. I got to school today and I informed a friend of mine how late that meeting went, and deservedly so. You guys are the council does a good job of spending the citizens' money correctly. And he kind of giggled about what it was all about, and then I informed him about the budget things, and he couldn't believe the budget situation. So it was, and I work in Newburgh, so you take that for what it's worth. But yeah, but it was just so interesting. It's always interesting to see people who don't know what's going on. But the people who showed up and testified last night were phenomenal. And their ideas were good and well thought out. And it was kind of a joy to hear the citizens speak, so.
Dylan?
Tagging on to that real quick, though, I would like to reiterate, I've said this before, but it was reaffirmed last night that we were not surprised by any of the things that we heard, which is a good sign, I think, that we all did our due diligence in, spending as much time as we needed to really nail down what we wanted to do in the survey, because everyone had brought up points that we had already considered and taken into account. So I think that's a good sign for us.
If I can just add one more thing, when we had our original meeting, and Matt was there, I'm not sure if you were there or not, with the mayor, she was very pointed in telling us, we need this information. You have to convince us through this information. And it wasn't, at the time, I thought it was it was going to be very difficult. And then when we got the surveys back, and the survey was so good, and the information that we got from it was so good, that at least I can say from the one person we talked to at the time was the mayor, she had gotten on board with this. And if we hadn't done the due diligence, that wouldn't have happened. So kudos to everybody here, getting all that information, and as long as I've been involved, this was probably as good a process as I've seen. It was done very well, so.
I will add one more thing. In all honesty, our council is we almost ask too many questions sometimes, but that's what we do. I mean, I've noticed that in the last decisions that we've made, and especially this one, we actually do listen to what people tell us. It's not so much what we believe, because I know what I believe. I'm a big parks guy, and Robert knows that, and all of you guys. But we do listen to people, and we ask questions for them. We ask, there's sometimes we kind of go around in circles because we want to make sure. And Jim, you understand that. It takes a lot of, background reading and listening to people and understanding and listening to other point of views. That's the other thing that we've all learned. We've learned to listen to other people's point of views and accept them as something that we want to grow with, and we're doing that. I know that some people might not be happy with certain things, but that's the way governments go. Like you said something really good last night that really hit me, is that, we're voted on to do decisions that are tough sometimes, but we have to live with them and we have to make these decisions. That's why we're there. And I learned one thing from our great Mark, our great counselor, and that's to be prepared and read and think of all the possible questions that they'll ask you, and think of good answers. And if you don't know, be honest and say, hey, like I do sometimes, I don't know. I wasn't even prepared with that statement that you had, sir. But the point is that we all want to work together and make sure we cross every T, listen to everybody. And at the end of the day, we come up with what we think is best that's what we were voted for, to try to come up with what's best for the overall of the community. So I think that when the end product comes out, I think people will be happy. I will say that. So that's for what
Well,
it's worth.
you touched on the fact that you listen. And a lot of times people, they'll say, well, you're not listening to me. Well, it's not that you're not listening. You just may not agree. And one thing that's difficult for people to understand, that as counselors, you have all the information, where the general public either doesn't want to take time or whatever. And I talked on that last night, but you have all the information to make those decisions. And that's what you get the big bucks for. I'm still waiting for my first check.
If I may, I'm gonna make a baseball analogy for you and Scott. The people watching the baseball games going, why isn't that guy pitching? Why isn't he out there? Why isn't my son, or whatever? We don't have the manager knows the guy came up and told him, hey, my arm hurts, or whatever. We don't know the information as spectators, but the people that are coaching, they're involved, the council, the coaches, they know what's going on.
Right.
And I've learned that a long time ago from Kim Gilmore, that don't second guess them, because they know something you don't. And that usually is the case. Now, in this case, we all kind of got out there and listened to everybody. I've heard some people that were really excited, and I heard somebody that weren't so excited. But they all knew one thing in common, that we need something to be done for our parks. And that's where we're at. So, thank you for this.
So, I think we need a motion here for somebody to work with Robert and come up with our priority list. Would that be correct, Debbie?
I'm not sure you really.
I think we want to wait until,
Well, the mayor tasked us with coming up with a priority list. So when did you want to start that process with us, Robert?
Whenever you're ready.
Well, yeah.
Well, we'd have to be before the next board meeting so we can go over that then. So you have a month.
I just wonder if we're premature until council decides on this. I mean, you could work on it for sure, but I don't want to be preempt what they're gonna do and start working on something that hasn't been passed yet. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
That doesn't mean that I think if you took staff time at this point, it might not be right. If you wanted to, we wanted to work on it on our own time or something like that, I think, but using staff time for something that hasn't been approved by council yet, I'm not really sure if we want to do that. You would know better than I would on that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think the plausible solution to glean as much data as we need to give staff the opportunity to put their best foot forward in terms of the potential ordinance. I think it's a pretty simple solution in that, Robert basically already knows what he needs. And then using the data we have from our survey, and I'd be happy to work with somebody else on the board to basically take that data, convert it into, a ones and zeros type collection of data, and then just give it back to Robert and say no. So the people have responded to, number one thing was maintenance of bathrooms, then removal of, this, that, and the other. But basically looking at those things, and then obviously looking at the structural issues and the deferred maintenance issues that Robert knows of, as well as, equipment needs and things like that. I think those are things that are already there. It's just sort of corralling it, putting it together in a comprehensive analysis, and then giving it back to Robert. So I think the staff time is very, very minimal on this. I'd say probably less than a couple hours, which is has already been directed by council to get that information together as part of this ordinance.
All right, well, I'd be willing to work with you, Matt.
Okay.
And since I'm, helping the survey, so we could get together and give that to Robert, and then he can go forward. You understand what my concern was?
Yes.
And you can talk to Bill about that.
Yep.
And if
Council tasked us, Jim, so.
But council is not Bill's boss or his boss.
No, they
So-
they tasked us.
The mayor looked
I
at
know,
us
so
and said,
I just, you talk to Bill about that and see how that is.
Scott?
Nope.
I'm done.
Good. So, you have enough, but I'd like to be kept in the loop.
I will. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right,
Chair.
thank you.
And if anybody else,
Well, there's only so many people that,
yeah, I mean, I'd like everybody to, again, to have the opportunity to have their eyes on it. Realistically, I don't know. We may not have a meeting, I think, by the time this goes. I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions. The council's got a lot of work to do on it. You've got a lot of work to do on it. But, I mean, realistically, we should be able to talk about it at our next board meeting. I think it's simple. I mean,
It is.
Robert's got the data, we've got the data, we just marry them together and come up with a good comprehensive list.
so the mayor directed us, and I'd like to be prepared so we can have an in-depth discussion at our next meeting. Thank you, Debbie. Any other comments?
Well, I'll just wrap up one last comment on this, and again, I think that I want to echo Scott's comments as it relates to just how prepared and educated the people that came in here and talked last night. People have been emotional about this issue, and there's been a lot of comments from folks in the social media world that I really wish they would have taken the opportunity to actually come down here in person and let the council hear their thoughts on it, because I am thankful. We had a lot of good recommendations. I appreciate the council's willingness to really battle through a very complex issue, and I really hope that Chief Teague's willing to buy us pizza one night, because I think we're doing a lot of really good work to set the police up for a really good. So, but it is important, and again, you know, we're not done. I don't want to put a period on this conversation because there's still a lot of work to do. Let's not count our chickens before we make an omelet. But we're getting one step closer, and you know, let's not, you know, we're still under a status quo budget. We're still, you know, scraping off the skin of our teeth right now. But you know, time will tell. The council's bright, and they're willing to put their hard work in to get this done. And you know, we'll celebrate or commiserate here in a couple months. But even if we have to commiserate, we're coming up with another plan if we have to.
I think the citizens were informed because of the work that this committee and especially the subcommittee put in and educated them so they knew what was coming. All right. Solar eclipse event.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
That first agenda item, the Festival Advisory Board Representative, that was one you asked me to put on because you wanted to no longer
that's
be
right.
part of that.
Wrong person. I thought it was Donna. So thank you for reminding me. That isn't Donna's. Donna's is a solar eclipse. So right now, I have served on, I think of Thunderbirds Go when I do this, the FAB board, Festival Advisory Board, for what, 4 years now, and I think it's somebody else's turn to be the Parks Board of representative on that. So does anybody volunteer? Who's not here? Clint?
No, don't volunteer.
I did. I was silly. Anybody? Anyone? Anyone?
How many meetings is it?
Once a month. When I started, it was one every other month, so now it's about once a month, and you get to hear all about the solar eclipse stuff right now.
Once the solar eclipse is over, they may go back to every other month. I think they kind of did it this way because they wanted to get that all
Yes.
put together.
Unfortunately, I'll probably be there anyway because I'm supposed to lay out the park.
Right, you volunteered for a bunch
Well,
of
then you
stuff
might
at
as
the
well
last
just
No,
stay there.
no, I want to break somebody else in. I've had my fun on the Parks Advisory. Oh, I'm sorry. I like the Parks Advisory Board on the FAB board. So we can draw straws.
All right, before we go on, I'm a coach at heart. I've always been a coach. I have the opportunity to be an offensive coordinator at a high school, not local, but local. And so my availability starting when passing league starts, or actually our first meeting is Saturday to get our offense in gear, is going to be limited through October, November. So I'm going to have to be, there's no way I could do it. So
I appreciate
just need you to know that. So.
All right.
Should we go down the line? Everybody has an excuse? That was a very
That-
good one.
Yeah, that was
That
actually,
was a very good one.
he
Well-
practiced that one.
And I'd consider it, except for we're getting into construction season. I'm going to be on the road a lot for work, and I
Well,
don't know that I can
I
commit
think
that
you've
much time.
done enough with like the survey and stuff.
No, but this is a separate issue, and
Well, it's
Clint and Donna.
But Donna's already
well,
there.
so I mean, Donna's been doing a lot of work.
Donna is not on that committee.
No, but she's
on the
involved
eclipse
in
thing,
the
I think,
solar
yeah.
eclipse.
On the eclipse thing, but not on that committee. And Clint also is part of that eclipse thing, but not on
Yes,
that
he
committee.
is.
So we should postpone it till next month. And
I
see if
think we
maybe
will,
do it.
and I will take only written excuses next time.
I'm going to send Miss Bradley a message and see if she's interested.
What day of the week are the FAB meetings?
They are.
It's an odd
on the,
day.
They're on the fourth Monday.
Fourth Monday.
This is, hold up, this is, never mind.
Were you coming up with your own
Sorry,
excuse?
no, I am not going.
Okay,
No.
we'll postpone this, and I'll go to one more meeting, but written excuses only next time. Now, we'll go to the solar eclipse, and that is Donna,
Yes. and she's-
and she's still sick.
Anybody know anything about that?
It's happening.
Yeah,
It's
will
happening. The
happen.
website's live.
Solar eclipse is happening, right?
This will be, and it will, there'll be totality at 1 minute and 58 seconds.
There were a bunch of other things that were happening that didn't.
Oh.
So I don't even know that it's the solar alignment could be a sure thing at this point.
And the magnetic poles may shift.
Things aligned last night.
It happened last night? I missed it?
My magnetic pole already shifted.
I know, I think yours is totally dead. So,
So on a serious note on that, Mr. Chair, I know that the website is live. They are taking reservations online. They're $300 for the full weekend, which includes a bunch of entertainment and a whole bunch of really amazing amenities that the Keizer Rotary is putting together, the folks with the Eclipse event are putting together. There is still a lot of work to be done. They're still looking for sponsorships. They're still looking for money. I don't know whether or not the $8,000 was approved via the budget committee or not, but I know that they went in and requested $8,000. It did get approved?
I believe
good.
it did.
Good. You know, it's rolling, but the big issue I think that they're facing right now is just sort of the advertising piece as it relates to getting the website and stuff out there. So if you're on social media, if you know folks that are interested in this kind of thing, get it out. State parks have done a lot of work in terms of creating sites for this. They came up with 1,100 sites about a month ago, and they sold out in like 3 hours, maybe even less than that. And so it's an event. You're not just buying a camping spot. You're buying an event, and you know it's going to be one of those things where just the saturation and the social media outreach is going to be really important. And so if you've got it, it's I apologize for not remembering the website off the top of my head, but find it. If you look at Keizer Eclipse, I think it's like Total Eclipse, Keizer Total Eclipse, something like that. Get it on there, throw it on your social media page, and all should be good. Just, I would seriously, if you live in Keizer or anywhere around Keizer, avoid going to Madras, because the Department of Transportation is already expecting some of the worst eastbound traffic that they've ever experienced. I've been listening to the Oregon Transportation Commission and just some of the stuff coming through there. You know, all the Part 135 charter flights, they're making a ton of money. Madras is shutting their airport down for the full weekend. They're bringing in like 35,000 people. It's going to be incredible. So
I-5 is going to be
I-5
unbelievable.
Well, and that's
It's going to be like 10 University of Oregon, Oregon State games at the same time. 'Cause everybody from the north is coming this direction.
and the south.
And there's going to be those people that just literally have no freaking clue that this is happening. And all of a sudden, lights are going to go out sometime around 10 o'clock in the morning, and incident responses are going to be at a peak. Hopefully, people are, you know, if you're not seeing it, you don't have a smartphone or internet or a newspaper or television. I mean, Morse code. I don't know. I mean, but it's out there. So. You know, this group has done a really good job of doing 3.5 years worth of work in about 2 quarters. And hopefully that the net result of that at the end is a really successful event. And we, you know, my big thing, I would really like to see our city council take full advantage of what Salem just did and bring Uber and Lyft into our city, so that we're not having a bunch of people trying to drive around this city during the Eclipse event. So they're going to have to get hot on that in the next couple months and get that resolution done. Because right now you can go to Salem and as of June and do Uber and Lyft, but we don't have it in Keizer. So hopefully we can just.
In Salem now?
What's that?
It's going to be legal.
Yep, as of June.
Just did it.
So hopefully we can just glean off of Salem's hard work, and the council can pass a resolution. And I'm sorry.
Their business has been behind that for quite a while.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a fringe benefit to our city, but it could certainly reduce traffic obligations and stuff out here and stuff like that. So, just my own little personal anecdote to that. So, that's all I got.
All right. So, any other discussion? Staff report. Robert gets to talk now.
All right, just give you guys a quick update of some of the work that's taken place down at Keizer Rapids recently. The orchard trees are still in the process of being removed for the new connector pathway. They got about half the trees out a couple weeks back. Then they were rain delayed pretty severely. They were starting to rut things up. Had Marion County out trying to get some of the wood chopped up and removed. That we did get out to the open field. They even got their truck stuck. So we all kind of said, let's just press pause here and get back on it this next week. So Randy Miller actually was down there volunteering his time today to start removing some more trees. So hopefully we'll get the rest of those out by the end of the week. And the RFP was sent out the first part of this week for the pathways to be paved. The connector path that goes to the Big Toy. Everybody knows what I'm talking about with that. So be excited to see where that comes in. The electrical conduit that goes to the restrooms from Shamawa Road is now 100% glued and all intact. They're waiting for the final okay to backfill from PGE, and we'll get that all backfilled. And then PGE will be setting a new electric pole out by Shamawa Road and doing the tie-in there. So that's kind of where we're at down there. Other than that, things are really starting to pick up for us right now. I'm feeling it. So getting calls, and we're out just getting as much done as possible. So that's it.
Roland.
No, I pretty much, most of our meetings consumed with what our latest project. But I will say one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I was really happy. Debbie might help me on this one. Councilor Freeman was talking about how great their volunteer coordinating committee has been. You know, they finally got a really, I think you have all full, don't you? Do you have all positions? And I think that's where everything starts, and that's how all of us have to, that's who picks everybody in the committees. And from her report, she was really delighted with the people that represent the council on that, because she says they have a great chemistry and they're all excited and they're on the ball. So, you know, kudos to them, because that's where all our committees start. Go through that committee before you get on to any budget, whether it's parks or everything. And kudos to those people and Kim Freeman, our counselor. But that's pretty much all I have. Like I say, we'll stand by and see what happens on the rest. But we're moving forward. So thank you.
Youth liaison.
Perfect. So I got a couple of things. One about this Wednesday, the meeting, that is here at what time?
So the meeting he's referring to is a Clagger Creek Watershed Council meeting tomorrow evening at 5:30. We're going to be discussing a project for this weekend, which I can talk about now or in other business.
Okay, perfect. I'm having Jesus come over. I don't know if he's talked to you yet or has been in contact, but he's coming tomorrow in place of me because I won't be able to make it.
Great.
So he will be there for you. Next is Saturday. When does it start? When does it end? And what do we need to bring?
So what Sam's referring to is this Saturday we're hosting an event. It's an invasive species removal that will happen down at Keizer Rapids. It's part of the continuing effort of the Watershed Council to participate in our parks within our watershed. We will be removing a very small amount of Scotch broom. We've really decimated over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's mostly gone. And if I recall, you and Mark talked about it a little bit last night, but it's going to be largely ivy, and then some other possibly blackberries. And it's not attractive work, but it's important work. We're going to be there at 9 o'clock, meeting at Keizer Rapids, probably over by the amphitheater. Was it just the blackberries and the ivy?
And Scotch broom.
And the Scotch broom, okay. So, and it's, we'll have gloves, we'll have, all that stuff out there. It's going to probably be wet, but not nearly as bad as it was at the Civic Center cleanup here. But it's good work. We're going to have, 15, 20 kids out there from Boy Scouts and possibly youth leadership and some other things. So,
yeah, that's basically about the main point of that. So this coming Wednesday, eventually, I was wondering if I can get some applications from you, even if it's just one, so I can just photocopy that. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. I just need about 20 applications.
Volunteer application?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Well, is that for this Saturday? Because we'll have them as well.
Yeah, no, this isn't for Saturday. This is for, crap, what date is that? Like the 20-something? But that was for the whole youth group.
Clean up
And,
at
yeah.
Mike Woodham Park
Mhm.
for ivy removal? And,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just need a few applications for that, and then that basically wraps up my portion of it.
Roland?
I almost forgot about that. You know, there's a kind of an urgent call for volunteers for the Keizer Iris Festival. And if anybody can help with that, my wife and I have helped every year, and it's really a lot of fun, actually. Please contact the chamber, and there's actually a website in the signup.com, but I don't have that on me. So contact Danielle over at the Keizer Chamber or anybody. Just call the Keizer Chamber, or else go to KeizerIrisFestival.com and sign up. There's a thing where you can sign up for volunteers. So Keizer is really good at coming out for volunteering, and that's the biggest event for Keizer. So it's our party. Let's help.
So
Thank you very much.
I do have the website
For this?
to sign up, yeah.
Oh, okay. There's a church in the area that used to, and for the longest time, had done a lot of hot dog stuff that is not doing that this year. So if you want to get word out to that church that maybe takes place in this building, they might be able to bring in some volunteers for that. It's just an idea. Because they will have a whole bunch of people who normally are used to volunteering who will not have a thing to volunteer to do. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great.
That's,
Okay, any other business?
Mr. Chair, I do have a couple things really quick to bring up. So
Yes.
Donna did text back and said she'd be interested in doing the FAB.
Okay,
Hey, show it to us. I'm just kidding.
I've got it right here. I can send it to Debbie for public record if she really wants it. So there's that. We already talked about the.
I turned her mic on.
We already talked about the Saturday event. It's a good event. Again, this is just part and parcel how the community gets involved to take care of our parks. And lastly, and I just want to bring this up really quick, and I know it's not an agenda item, but I want to tee this up for discussion next month. You know, our good friend Hans Schneider came in last month and brought in the grant request. I'm working with Hans and Dr. Jessica Wilcox to put together some fundraising efforts. We're going to try to get additional $6,000. What he was able to find was that they have the opportunity to make the structure, I think, 6 or 8 feet longer. Is that correct?
It's, I think it was 4 feet wide or 4 feet longer.
Okay. Now, did he ever talk to you about doing it McNary blue on top, or is there the?
We've discussed color options. We're still looking into that.
Okay. So we're trying to get that going. I'm going to work with the Keizer Parks Foundation because they're a 501c3, so we're going to filter the GoFundMe and various other campaigns via that. Working with a couple business owners locally to do a couple weekend car washes and help get money that way. Part of it is I think Hans is potentially looking at doing a tournament the weekend of the eclipse if he can get that together and everything's built by then. But the reason I bring that up and I think that it's really important, Hans has donated a ton of time and a ton of resources and financial resources to not only the volleyball pits, but also this other piece. And I'd really like to potentially explore the opportunity to maybe do something in honor of him and his wife and their family, where it's, maybe like the Hans and Vicky Schneider family courts or structure or something along that, just to kind of put a period on how much the city really appreciates the time and effort they've put in. I think it's consistent with our naming instructions within our parks manual, and I've talked to Hans about this because you kind of have to have sort of permission if you're going to put somebody up there. And initially he was really hesitant on the conversation because he's not one of those people that's looking for anything out of this. But again, for us to sort of put the period on how important it is for that sort of public engagement, public participation, and willingness to invest in our city And I think he put a great, he talked about that very much and how investing in your city is very, very important. And so if that's something we're willing to talk about, maybe tee it up for the meeting, next meeting, you know, we can look at the actual homework and I can figure out all the nuances to how that plays out. But I think, you know, personally, again, I think it's a very important thing just to kind of help acknowledge that and then maybe do like some sort of little dedication thing or whatever. But so I'm kind of looking for nods if y'all think that's a good idea, and if you don't, then you don't like puppies either.
Any discussion? Would you put that on the agenda for us?
I have that down.
You're far too efficient, Debbie.
There's also the option of, I mean, of course, it's not naming a park, or a court, but you could nominate him as a volunteer of the quarter.
Yeah, I've thought about that as well. So, and as a group, we could do that unanimously as well once it's all done and successful and beautiful and there's no charcoal on the ground.
The Boy Scouts didn't leave any charcoal on the ground. Any other new business?
We might need a new person for the council meeting since Mr. What's that?
Clint is in here.
Clint isn't here. When is it?
I'll be on travel.
I can do it if you need me.
David is gonna contact you, you can't have somebody do it.
I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
If Clint can't do it, Jim will do it.
Okay.
Unless you just absolutely want to.
I'm pretty sure the city council's seen enough of me, Mr. Taylor.
Oh, they said it to me too.
But you don't care.
Nobody's arguing with both of you.
So on that note, we stand adjourned at 7:40.
For the first time in a year.